Okay, so ready for another deep dive?
Always.
All right.
Yes.
So
Sure.
today we're going to be looking at Metalghost, Kashif,
Hmm.
and the echoes from a past life, which
Oh,
I know you've read it too. Have you?
yeah, I have. I have.
What'd you think?
Is wild, right?
It is a wild ride. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got like justice, sacrifice, right and wrong, all mixed up in this really cool story
Yeah.
about, this ordinary guy who becomes, well, not so ordinary, right?
No, not at all.
He becomes a metal ghost.
Yeah, I mean, he starts out as just this professor and
Right.
ends up, well, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it.
Yeah, yeah, no spoilers. But he ends up going up against like everybody. Criminals, the police, even well, himself, really.
It's true. One thing that really jumped out at me was how the writer set up that contrast between his academic life, like all that knowledge and reason, and then bam, he's suddenly in this world where it's all instinct.
Yeah.
Violence. Like, how do you even...
Yeah, it's a huge shift, and you can totally feel that inner struggle he's got going on the whole way through.
Definitely. And it all stems from that mysterious death in his family.
Right. Like, what do you think is really pushing him to make that change? To become Metal Ghost? Is it, like, revenge?
Could be.
Or is it grief?
Maybe.
Or just this need to make things right,
Uh-huh.
justice?
I think it's kind of all those things mixed together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a simple answer, and that's what makes him such an interesting character. He's not just your typical hero. He's got these inner demons he's fighting, too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And he's not exactly fighting with his bare hands, is he?
No.
That suit, man, that armored suit.
Talk about high tech.
Right. His childhood friend builds it for him. And it's not just some cool gadget. It's almost like it symbolizes the whole change he goes through.
Totally. I mean, it lets him actually fight, But it also makes you think about how powerful technology can be and what could happen if it got into the wrong hands.
Oh, man. Yeah. That is a chilling thought, especially because the story takes place in a world that feels very much like ours. It's not some far-off future.
Right, right. It makes it way more real.
So let's talk about that world a bit. What kind of underworld is he dealing with?
Oh, it's bad. It's not just like small-time crooks. We're talking organized crime, corruption, the whole works. He runs into some really creepy villains, each with their own reasons for doing what they do.
Wow.
Oh, and then there's the copycats. Did I mention those?
Copycat vigilante?
Yeah, it's just regular people inspired by Metal Ghost, but blurring the lines, like, are they doing good or just being reckless?
Yikes. So that brings us to the big conflict, right?
Yeah.
Justice versus the law. Kashif is a wanted man, but he's fighting for what he thinks is right. How does the book handle that?
It doesn't shy away from it, that's for sure. You see the police trying to keep things under control, but they're stuck with bureaucracy, maybe even some corruption themselves. You get both sides, basically.
So it's up to the reader to decide.
Totally. Where do you stand on vigilantism? What's okay and what's not?
It really gets you thinking.
It does.
And it's not just the legal stuff he's dealing with, right? His personal life takes a hit, too.
Big time. I mean, relationships fall apart, trust is broken, he ends up pretty isolated. It's a rough road.
It really shows you the cost, even when you're trying to do good.
Exactly.
And then it all leads up to this choice he has to make. Save the city or save himself.
Heavy stuff.
That's got to be hard.
Right. He's lost so much, and now he has to decide, who does he even want to be? It makes you really think about the consequences of choices, even when you mean well.
So I've got this professor turned vigilante, a city full of bad guys, a legal system that's not exactly black and white, and a guy who's losing everything. Makes you wonder what you'd do in his shoes.
Totally. Does wanting justice ever make it okay to break the law? Would you sacrifice everything for what you believe in? That's what I kept thinking about after I finished the book.
It's a powerful story, no doubt. If you're looking for something that'll make you think, Metal Ghost, Kashif and the Echoes from a Past Life is definitely worth checking out.
It is.
It's a deep dive, for
Yeah.
sure, into what it means to be human, to make tough choices.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, I think we should probably wrap things up here.
Sounds good.
Until next time.